Wake up! Come on, we have to get out of here.
Hey everyone, Miff here, and welcome to my completionist playthrough of the Baldur's Gate Saga with SCS, Baldur's Gate 2 edition, haha! So, where we left off in our introductory episode was just here, when Imoen managed to find us somehow and free us from our cage. And through this conversation, we're going to be able to basically get to know what happened, and it's kind of the reiteration of what we've seen in the intro cinematic in the last episode. And basically how I'm going to handle conversations, by the way, is that I am going to read out loud some of the most important ones and some of my favorite ones, but generally I'll try to just kind of summarize what the conversation is about, and I'm going to try to click through not too quickly so that you can always have a chance to pause and read the whole thing for yourselves. So yeah, basically the thing is that we got captured by someone. There were some experiments performed on us that apparently left some pretty big scars, not only on our bodies but also in our psyches, I guess. So as Imoen explains here, it's not like a normal pain, Sinashira. It's on the inside, like my bones made a little dagger and it won't go away. And also, if you remember from Baldur's Gate 1, whose signature thing was a dagger of bone, eh? So, yeah, apparently Imoen was deeply affected by all of that, all of what happened. And yeah, apparently an attack has occurred on this complex here, and during the ongoing battle, she was able to, like, slip out and find us and free us, so hooray for Imoen, as always. She also, during that conversation, mentioned a room. Oh, she mentions it actually right now. A room to the west, where you can apparently get some equipment. And it's not our equipment, they probably sold our best stuff, but anything is better than nothing. Now, let's go. And, yeah, the screen pans. Normally an autosave would happen here. And, yeah, welcome to Baldur's Gate 2. And of course we also need Kiranai with us, and she's going to appear in this cage here, so I'm going to be right back with her on board. And we're back, and Kiranai is with us right here, and a kind of a nice touch is that she actually can't open her cage for herself. You actually need another character to do it for her, so boom. Now we can get her out. And yeah, Baldur's Gate 2. Also, one thing that I want to mention, there's a couple of things actually I need to mention right off the bat. And so first, about the conversation and the whole like setting, like the background info, I guess, for Baldur's Gate 2 is that we, after the events of Baldur's Gate 1, sometime after that, we got captured during traveling. And we don't really know who our captors are, why we got captured, and why these experiments were performed on us, or where we are exactly. So we're going to have to find out all of that as we go along. And another thing is that, more gameplay related, it's something that Enhanced Edition fixed, but in the original Baldur's Gate 2 there's a kind of an interesting little trick. Before that introductory kind of in-game cinematic happens, where that mage comes up to our cage and starts casting spells on us and whatnot, first, we start out with a black screen, and there's like a dying sound on our character. And during that black screen, we basically have like a second of control, actually. So we can pause the game and enter our inventory through a hotkey. And during that time, that's basically our imported character from Baldur's Gate 1, as we made, you know, the export file there. So she also would have all of her stuff on her. And we would be able to like put all of that stuff on the ground, and once Imoen frees us and we regain control, the stuff would still be on the ground. We would be able to like pick it up and basically have a completely unintended start. But Enhanced Edition fixed that, and you can't pause the game during that 1 second of like black screen where you would normally have control. So before we examine our surroundings a little bit more, and here of course are some other characters that we know from Baldur's Gate 1, Jaheira and Minsc. First, let's just quickly explore this room and get some stuff from it. There's going to be a trap. And behind this painting, because we had the golden pantaloons in our possession when we exported Sinashira, the pantaloons appear here. I can get a little bit of stuff. On this table there are weapons, and I'm going to get from this quarterstaff, this mace. There's a key, a warhammer, two-handed sword, and a katana. And from this chest there's going to be some armors, and we're going to get this helmet, the splint mail and chain mail, and the small shield. And that's going to be all for now. There's also this golem that I'm going to talk to because Imoen is going to have a special comment about him. So basically, this conversation here serves a purpose of like teaching us, I guess, what golems are, that they are mindless constructs, only doing what they are instructed to do. So she suggests that we might be able to get some information out of this golem, but actually we won't be able to. Like, he's, you know, through this conversation you can see that how golems kind of operate. So there's not much that can come out of it. But yeah, an interesting conversation. There's also this door that we're going to like explore that path later. Alright, so now let's have a little talk with Jaheira.
Quickly, we must get out of here before whoever did this returns. I swear, traveling with you is never dull.
Well, it's good to see you in like good spirits, being able to like laugh off all of the horrible atrocities that were performed on us. Well, I guess they weren't performed on her. So anyway, her conversation again serves the purpose of kind of just giving you some backstory, especially if you've never played Baldur's Gate 1 and you just started with Baldur's Gate 2. She can basically, you know, briefly summarize what happened in Baldur's Gate 1 and who these people are supposed to be, and you know. And she also mentions her husband Khalid, that apparently was with us when we traveled, but we got separated. And she mentions the unique heritage, of course, us being the Ball spawn, a child of Baal. And yeah, we did some good deeds. We dispatched all of our foes, but this one apparently is like an adversary that the likes of which we've never seen before, because it was very easy apparently for him to capture us like that. So you can ask more about Khalid. We don't know where he is right now, and yeah, we've been drugged, and experiments were performed on us, of course. So yeah, more of the same basically. And yeah, we already have the key to her cage from the table. And you've got the key that fits? Then open the door already. Must I handwalk you through this? Of course, Jaheira already showing us her attitudes, and you know, we were going to keep giving her a hard time in Baldur's Gate 2, just like we did in Baldur's Gate 1. But of course, underneath, she's a cool character. But you know, in this situation, you are really not in a position to behave like that, Jaheira. You know, because I could just leave you here. You know, so I would really think carefully of what you're about to say next. Okay, if you don't want to stay in this cage forever. But yeah, of course, we're going to open the door. And as always, we have many different conversation options to pick through, like, we won't be going. I rescued you, but I neither need nor desire a company. Of course, we're not going to say that. We will leave immediately and celebrate once we are out of this hall. So yeah, now we have Jaheira, and she has a level up because of that TOB style NPCs component that I have from BG2 Tweaks, just like I had in Baldur's Gate 1. So we're going to be able to level up Jaheira a little bit, as you will see, because she's basically been brought up to the experience cap from Baldur's Gate 1. And Minsc here is going to get the same treatment, I guess, because we are at the experience cap.
Minsc will be free. These bonds will not hold my wrath. Butts will be liberally kicked in good measure.
So as we can see a slightly different portrait on Minsc, but the same good old Minsc when it comes to his behavior. Your mighty warrior spirit must find these bars unbearable. And he mentions that Dinaher was with us as well, but she was killed, apparently. Dinaher was his witch. Basically, they had kind of like a special relationship between each other. She was a witch from Rashaman, and he was her protector. And basically, she traveled together to the Sword Coast on their Dajema, which is kind of like a coming-of-age ritual, a kind of adventure, I guess, that they have to make in order to prove themselves, I guess, and then return to Rashomon as, you know, like proven witch and proven berserker, and basically that was his goal, to get accepted to the Berserker Lodge of the Frost Dragon, I think, if I remember correctly. But anyway, Dinaher, my charge and friend, she is dead, and I am a failure as her guard. I will exact penance from each and every wicked soul that dared lay a finger on. They killed her as I watched, you see. I know not who they were, but I will redeem myself. So yeah, that is really horrible. That is poor Minsc, you know. That had to be horrible for him. I won't cry for the dead. I won't. Okay, maybe a little, but I will staunch the flow of tears with righteous fury. So of course, as always, he revels in the descriptions of what he's going to do when he meets evil. But also, the thing we're going to discover from this conversation is that apparently there is no lock on the cage door here. Yeah, the bars have no lock at all. They are smithed together. So here, during this conversation, he's going to get a little impatient, a little angry. You have brushed me aside with your words. You won't help. Boo can see it now. You do not intend to cut my chains. You only intend to yank them. I will make sure you do not live long enough to abandon more friends. I will do all of this as soon as I get these bars open. Roar!
The bars, they bend and twist with my berserker strength. Minsc and Boo are free. No, you will not. No. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, you are a smart one. I understand now. You said what you did just to get me mad. Mad enough to break free. You are as smart as Boo sometimes.
Yeah, so this is of course a reference to his special ability, his Berserker Rage, that he has trouble controlling his rages. You know, when you activate that rage ability, he's actually going to become uncontrollable, and he's going to just attack whoever's nearest him, including our party members. He also mentioned Boo, of course, his pet hamster. Yeah, together we shall make our enemies answer for our fallen. Yeah, here, I don't really like these conversation responses, but since we already know Minsc, we know who Boo is, then I guess this one is the only fitting one. Yeah, Boo is quick and evasive, and there is ever so much of Minsc to search. There is no hope of getting us apart. So yeah, Minsc and Boo are Minsc and Boo, and we shall not be separated. Yeah, right you are, Minsc. Wherever evil dost lay its dirty feet, we shall mop the floor with its buttocks. I have lost myself in your words, but Boo thinks you're just ducky. Onward. Alright, so now we have our starting party assembled, and now we just have to take a look at them and kind of change them a little bit to our liking. So let's first level her up. She basically gets one more level in Fighter and in Druid, so she gets back to where she was at the end of Baldur's Gate 1. With Fighter level 7, of course, she gets that half of an attack. And yeah, Jaheira. She's a Fighter Druid multiclass. I'm using the same component I used in Baldur's Gate 1, which makes her neutral good, which is essentially what her alignment is. And she has her Baldur's Gate 2 stats, which I also used in Baldur's Gate 1, but normally in Baldur's Gate 1 she would have 14 dexterity, and in Baldur's Gate 2 she has 17, so she's much upgraded in that department. So that means, in general, her stats, in my opinion, just make her lend herself very well to that kind of tanking role we used her for in Baldur's Gate 1. And generally, when it comes to Jaheira, I really love, like, gameplay-wise, how she works out in Baldur's Gate 2. Because, first of all, slowly but surely, she's going to level up in Druid and get access to the good Druid spells, basically. She's not going to be stuck, like in Baldur's Gate 1. For a while, she was stuck at, like, level 1 and level 2, where the Druid selection of spells is just pretty bad. Like, who am I kidding? It's really bad. It's horrible. I hate it. Especially compared to the Cleric's selection, of course. But in Baldur's Gate 2, she is going to get access to those level 5, level 6, level 7 Druid spells, which are good, or really good. So she's going to be able to provide us this support from her Druidic abilities, which is really nice. But also what's pretty cool about her is that she just works out when it comes to her performance, really well to what you need in Shadows of Amn. Because, as you can see, she starts out with 2 points in club and 1 in everything else, and she kind of starts out as this like tanky sword and board character. At least in my opinion, she lends herself, you know, very well to that role, and that's like really a good thing to have in your party at the beginning. It's basically what you need. And we're going to be using her as that kind of character. We're going to dump all of the armor class increasing equipment on her, so she becomes just kind of like she was in Baldur's Gate 1, the kind of frontliner character, very tanky one that doesn't rely on any magical buffs. And then later on, as the game goes on, we're going to of course get some proficiency points for her, and we're going to level up her dual wielding, her 2-weapon style, so that by the time Shadows of Amn kind of draws to a close, and we reach that late kind of stage of Shadows of Amn, especially in Throng of Baal, she is going to be able to switch to dual wielding and become a very effective character of that type. And that's for a couple of reasons. First of all, near the end of Shadows of Amn, and especially in Throne of Baal, armor class really loses its effectiveness. Because especially in Throne of Baal, enemies have such good THAC0, such good chance to hit, that pretty much no matter how high your armor class is, they are going to get hits in very often on you. So it's a better choice to just switch to doing more damage and rely on her spells then to absorb or mitigate damage, because she, as a druid, has access to Iron Skins, which is going to completely absorb physical damage, and as a part fighter, once we get access to our high-level abilities, she's also going to be able to pick hardiness to mitigate a lot of the damage. And she is going to also be a very effective character of that type because she is a druid and not a cleric. Because let's just take a second to talk about the weapon ethos of these two classes, the clerics and the druids. The clerics don't use any sharp bladed weapons, they only have access to blunt weapons. So that means they cannot use a speed weapon in their offhand, because all speed weapons in Baldur's Gate 2 are sharp bladed weapons. But Jaheira, as a druid, she can use scimitars. From this proficiency group, she actually cannot use wakizashis on ninja toes, but she can use scimitars, and one of the speed weapons, Belm, is a scimitar. So that's really, really good for her. And I'm going to, like I said in the introductory video, I'm going to explain the whole speed weapon concept once we actually get a weapon of that type. But yeah, she can have a good, clubs are really good in Baldur's Gate 2. In her main hand, she can have Black Blood, or maybe later even Club of Detonation if we go that route. And in her offhand, she's going to be able to wield Belm, and just be a really, really cool character, really capable melee combatant, with all of those cool druid spells to support us with. So I really like how she works out in Baldur's Gate 2, especially since her only real weakness is the strength here. And in Baldur's Gate 2 there is plenty of ways to permanently increase that strength through an item, an equipable item. I mean, not like a tome, but there's plenty of belts of strength, and there are also the gloves of ogre power that she had in Baldur's Gate 1, although these ones are used as a reagent later on to craft a certain weapon. And also her wisdom is not that high, but as a druid, she doesn't really need wisdom. Well, what I mean here is that in order to get the bonus spell slots for her good spell levels, like level 5 and 6, she would have to have 21 wisdom. I think from 21, actually, you get your first bonus level 5 slot. So she would never really get that high in wisdom. So it doesn't really matter, wisdom at these reasonable levels, from 14 to 17 or 18. Usually cleric characters or divine casters usually have around 16 wisdom in Baldur's Gate games. That would give her some bonus slots to level 2 spells, which are horrible. So it doesn't really matter all that much. And of course in Baldur's Gate 2 I also have to mention that her 10 intelligence is a bit of a weakness that we will be able to fix, I mean in quotations, way later, where it probably won't really matter all that much. So well, through a certain thing we're going to be able to, maybe if we choose to, increase her intelligence to 11 if we choose to do so. But anyway, what I mean here is that in Baldur's Gate 2 there's quite a few times we're going to have to encounter an enemy's enemies that are called Mind Flayers or Illithids. And basically one of the things unique about them is that when they hit you in melee, they drain 5 intelligence from the target. And the general behavior in Baldur's Gate is that whenever any of your attributes gets drained to 0, you die. So 2 hits from a Mind Flayer and Jaheira is dead. That's also going to be the same weakness for Minsc. And that's why also Kiranai, for example, has 11 intelligence. So she can actually withstand 2 hits from a Mind Flayer and still be alive with 1 intelligence left. So, yeah, that's Jaheira. A very cool character. Like I said, you know, I'm going to just start repeating myself if I linger on on her character sheet. So let's just move on to Minsc. Look at that. There's Boo here, little buddy. Anyway, let's level him up first. He gets 12 hit points. It's really nice. Minsc, compared to Baldur's Gate 1, he has 1 more dexterity and 1 more constitution, so he has a little bit more hit points, a little bit more, little better armor class. His strength, of course, is very good, and then, you know, the other attributes, like I said, intelligence is kind of a weakness when it comes to his battles with Mind Flayers. He's a ranger, which is not that great of a class. It's, well, compared to just like even a normal fighter, it's just pretty bad, but you know, it basically allows you to choose your racial enemy, which for him is a vampire in Baldur's Gate 2, which is a decent choice. There's going to be plenty of vampires that we're going to have to deal with. And then he also, as a ranger, gets these 2 weapon style 2 points for free. And basically this is what makes him like a good, well, one of the reasons he's actually a good character. I like him. Of course, you know, aside from his personality and all that. But what I'm getting at here is that he is very versatile. Like, that's his main strength, in my opinion, his versatility. Because he has the 2 points in Two-Handed Sword, of course, that's going to be probably your main weapon for him. There's plenty of good two-handed swords throughout the saga, really. But then, also, for certain situations, he can wield mace, or maybe even dual wield a mace with a speed weapon. And he can be your like Mace of Disruption guy against undead. So combine that with his vampire racial enemy choice. Basically, what that does is, I think it does like either +3 or +4. I think Thaco, and +4 damage he will be able to deal with to the vampires. I think the +3 is Undead Hunter. Anyway, getting back to the weapon proficiencies, you know, he can be your Mace of Disruption guy against undead. When you need ranged damage, he also has these 2 points in longbow, so he can provide you with that if you need that. And of course, we're just free to level him up as we please from now on. So, you know, we can like give him some points in flails, for example, so he could use the Flail of Ages maybe in your party. Or you know, you can get him a 2-handed weapon style point, so he can do more crits. It's just a very solid character. And then finally we have Imoen, which is a little bit different from what we had in Baldur's Gate 1, because canonically, I guess, she, you know, dual classes from Thief at level 7, and we dual class her at level 4 in Baldur's Gate 1 in our playthrough. So she's a very good character. She provides us with all of the Thief utility. That basically, you know, she has 100 in open locks, 95 in find traps, so basically she can disarm and detect any trap in the game and open any lock. So that's very nice. And she's, other than that, you know, a mage. She has these proficiency points in like different things from different thief weapons, essentially. She doesn't have crossbow, which at the beginning of this dungeon is going to be a little bad, but not a big deal at all. So now we just have to customize them to our liking. Of course, first of all, we have to turn off their scripts, because I hate when the characters do anything out of their own volition. Because I'm a control freak in that regard. So no scripto for you. And also, we're going to change some of the colors of their equipment. And we're going to go with the classic Imoen colors. Oh, she also has this belt, kind of like a mysterious belt. And basically what it does here is that for gameplay purposes, this belt is set up in such a way that she cannot die. She's only going to be brought down to 1 HP at minimum, because she's not supposed to die in this part of the story yet. So that's basically what the belt does. Alright, now we of course have the golden pantaloons, we have some potions, we have this dagger +1, which Kiranai is going to get. We have the Warhammer for Sinashira, and she's only proficient in Warhammers. So basically why we went for Katana is that it's a one-handed weapon with the highest damage. And she's still a Kensai, she's still, you know, a fighter kit, so she's not going to be too bad with that. But basically, you know, like she's only proficient in Warhammers, so like she can use like any weapon in her offhand. And katanas deal the most damage. Plus, also, even non-magical katanas sell pretty well, so we can sell that katana later on in the game for some money. I'm going to give this quarterstaff to Jaheira, although I don't think she's actually ever going to use it, or at least use it for now. And now this mace is going to go to Minsc, as is going to be the case with the two-handed sword. Now Minsc is actually going to get the better armor, and I'm going to explain that in a second. And Jaheira is going to get the helmet and the chain mail, and she's also going to get this small shield. And now why I'm doing this in such a way that she has like no weapon and she has this small shield is because she is going to be shapeshifted for a while now. And this is another thing that pretty much like the last thing, well, almost the last thing I want to say about the characters before we move on, is that at level 7 Druid, she gained access to a couple of shape-shifting forms. And I didn't really showcase that in Baldur's Gate 1, because at that point in Baldur's Gate 1 she was fully equipped with, you know, great weapons, armors, and you know, different accessories. So those forms would actually be worse, or would provide worse stats essentially than what she had with like full equipment and, you know, these really good items. But right now the situation is completely different. Now we have nothing, now we have pretty much no gear, and these forms are going to be way better for her, at least when it comes to her offensive capabilities. Also here we get a little description that, you know, this battle is apparently still raging on. And, you know, during that chaos that ensued, Imoen was, you know, able to, like, slip out and find us. And we are supposed to, you know, use this situation where everyone's distracted and, you know, the general, like, chaos is happening right now. We are supposed to use that situation to make our escape. So that's why, also, while talking about that, I want to bring up the subject of resting here. SCS actually limits your resting to in here to just 1 time, and I normally rest 0 times. I never rest because of these like role-playing reasons. Basically, it makes no sense for you to like sleep for 8 hours here, and instead of just, you know, using the situation to just quickly make your escape. But since this is a completionist playthrough, and Imoen has a unique conversation, and that she that triggers once you rest here. So I think I am going to rest, probably at the end of this dungeon, just for demonstration purposes. And also, talking about completionist aspect, we have this little room here with a mysterious portal that we cannot use right now, because it requires some sort of a key. But yeah, it's all that we can explore right now, so now with our starting party, it's time to move on. And in Baldur's Gate 2, you will notice that there's actually a lot more elements of the environment that we can kind of click on and either inspect them closer, like this one, when we get the question mark icon, or we can use with this other icon. And we've seen this usage and a little bit of inspection in Baldur's Gate 1, especially in Durlag's tower, but in Baldur's Gate 2 there's going to be way, way more of that. So this machine here spawns these methods, and this handle or lever or whatever is going to disable that. Alright, then we get 2000 for disabling the machine and 420 experience for that method. And there's going to be quite a few different types of these methods in this starting dungeon, and they don't really matter too much right now, but there's going to be kind of like a sub area where there's going to be a couple of like nasty types of these methods that cast different disabling spells and can stun us. And now this room, one thing that's annoying with SCS here is that there's a fight that is about to happen here with an Ogre Mage, and because we have SCS installed, by the way, there's going to be many differences when it comes to the first like dungeon made by SCS, that I'm going to explain as we encounter them, but generally the dungeon is made more difficult. But yeah, this Ogre Mage, because we have SCS, he's going to have quite a few pre-buffs, and he's just going to be more effective in combat in general. And the thing with him is that we only have a couple of rounds to kill him, and if we fail to do so, he's going to disappear. And in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter when that happens, but it's just a way less satisfying outcome. Of course, we want to kill him. So if we get unlucky with our hit rolls and whatnot, he might get away, which is going to be annoying, but hopefully this is not going to happen. Anyway, also one more thing. Let's check out the spells of our characters. I'm not going to unmemorize any of the spells because, you know, I'm not going to rest. So we just have to use whatever the game gave us here at the beginning. So we have like one bark skin, we have some healing spells. We have this Cold Lightning that's completely useless underground. We have one Dispel Magic from her. And because she leveled up, we get one more level 4 spell slot. And yeah, Minsc, actually as a ranger, has access to some low-level druid spells, so it really doesn't matter. We might give him either some small healing, a bless spell, or this Armor of Faith, actually, which is going to become decent. Actually a pretty cool spell in Baldur's Gate 2, now that we are going to be able to achieve higher levels. Because, you know, it's like every 5 levels you get 5 more %. So right now he would get 10% mitigation out of that, and once he reaches level 10 he's going to have 15. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, I might as well memorize that. And then Imoen, of course, has her spells as well all over the place. She doesn't have mirror images. Just suboptimal selections. But it doesn't really matter. Also,
Something up?
Jesus, this is just like, I know you want to see some gameplay, but this is one of the last things I want to cover. I'm not going to pre-buff her yet with Stone Skin, although you might be wondering why, because this is a really long-lasting protection. It lasts for like 9 hours of in-game time. I am just going to buff her up with armor. Basically, the reason Stone Skin, I am going to buff her up with that soon, but there is a certain encounter in mind soon where I want her to have Stone Skins active so she doesn't get interrupted. And by the time we reach that encounter, there is a chance that, you know, the different crossbowmen that we're going to encounter and stuff, they would be able to like shoot at her and perhaps cut through her Stone Skins. So when she actually needs it, or when I want in that encounter for her to have Stone Skin and be, you know, uninterruptible essentially by physical damage, she wouldn't have that Stone Skin anymore. So that is why. And now we can also present these shape-shifting forms. She basically has 2 bears that are essentially the same. The brown bear is slightly better, and then a wolf form. And these forms also have the disadvantage of her not being able to cast anything, but we don't want to cast anything with her anyway right now. And so yeah, I am going to shapeshift into the better, I guess, bear. And also, just to give you an idea, right now she has 1 armor class, but you know, her attacks, even if she had that quarterstaff, it would be like 1 to 6 damage with 1.5 attacks per round at 14 Thaco. Or with the quarterstaff, she would have a slightly better one, but anyway. Now she's a bear, and now her stats, as you can see, the bears are strong, but they don't have any bonuses from dexterity. She only has 5 armor class, so it's worse. With the black bear, she actually is going to have 6 armor class, I guess. But as you can see, 7 to 12 damage, and I think the black bear deals 7 to 10, so it's just slightly worse. It's essentially the same. But 3.5 attacks per round, and also 11 Thaco, so better. Anyway, what I mentioned earlier with that small shield is that she actually gets the benefit of that small shield here. The armor class doesn't matter from her armor, it doesn't matter at all, but the small shield bonus actually does, and it doesn't matter what she has, like that she doesn't have a weapon, because she's going to be using the bear paws as her weapon, so, you know, that's a little trick, I guess, to use.
What is it?
Anyway, let us approach finally. So here's Ataka. You have escaped somewhat later than I had hoped. He's already starting to annoy me. Yeah, you have my welcome to my little piece of this place. I do so try to keep it more appealing than the rest. I have escaped. I now wonder what part of you had in my capture. Worry not, Sir Shira. I did so enjoy your blundering about Baldur's Gate. I did not wish to see you captured. I care little for your musings. Answer my questions or feel my wrath. So we're feeling pretty battle ready here. Ha, you threaten me? I had not foreseen this. Excellent. What do you mean by foreseen? What are you babbling about? The future, the past, the present, all of these things and nothing. Tell me, Sinashira, are you prepared to answer a question? So here we can insist on not answering his question and he's just going to go away. But answering, I think, fits better from a role-playing perspective and also gives us the opportunity to get a little bit more experience. So, can ask about that. Well, I suffer a terrible curiosity. I see paths that branch in 1,000 directions and each 1,000 again, but for all I see, Sinashira remains a mystery. Yeah, so he kind of refers to that thing from Baldur's Gate 1 where we're supposed to be a person whose coin landed on the edge, so we have our destiny, you know, we are free to basically shape our own destiny instead of having some kind of fate, you know, upon us. So yeah, let's ask that question, and he's going to present us with the prisoner's dilemma. Where basically, of course, feel free to pause and read for yourself, but it's basically that we're you know, locked up in a cell and there's a sibling in another cell and we can't communicate. And each one of us has a button, and if we press the button and they don't, we will die but they will be free. If they press the button but we don't, they will die and we will be free. And if we both press the button, or if we don't press the button, or if we both don't press the button, we will both die. So basically, the honorable kind of selfless option is to press the button. At least that gives us well, that gives the chance to the other person to be free. So because we chose that, we will have to deal with the consequences of that choice. Deal with this one, noble one, or deal with this, noble one. So he's going to summon that Ogre Mage. And let's allow him to get his pre-buffs. Oh yeah, they're pretty extensive ones, so he has Minor Globe, which means that we can't hurt him with any spells, but he also has mirror images and stone skin. He's hasted, so yeah, let's just keep Imoen in the back actually, and just make sure our characters don't get stuck or blocked by each other on their way. So he cast Chromatic Orb on Imoen. That didn't do anything, I think. His Chromatic Orbs have actually a chance of stunning our characters, so that was pretty good. Oh yeah. As displayed here, as demonstrated here. Thank you, Ogre Mage, for making it easier to make my point here, but also it's not bad because she's now stunned and we need her damage. So go, go, go. Alright, now his mirror images and stone skins are gone, but he managed to use his minor sequencer and renew that. So hopefully we can cut through them quickly enough. He's also, you know, he can deal some damage, as you can see. Alright. Magic missile with how many projectiles? 4 projectiles here. So Kiranai is almost dead. Well, maybe not almost, but she received a lot of damage, and fortunately we did manage to kill him before he got away. But that was close. Well done. It appears you can deal with the consequences of your actions. In return for your indulgence, I offer advice. Seek out Rielev. He waits for such as you. Offer him the release that he craves, and you shall find that the focus of your journey shall soon become apparent. Farewell. Alright, so that's the 650 experience that we got from killing that Ogre Mage is basically everything that we can get here. Of course, this room is also one with more like clickable elements of the environment. And since we are already over time, and since we have to wait out this stun on Kiranai, I will end the episode here. But I think I will post another one right away. By the way, the funny thing about Jaheira being transformed into a bear is that, like, you know, you have this bear, but with Jaheira's voice.
I await your... It is done. Yes, I am willing.
That's pretty funny. Anyway, I'm going to be back in the next episode once her stun dissipates, and we can continue to press on. So thanks for watching this one. I'll see you in the next episode. So yeah, goodbye.